Is the new Santa Fe a get it or skip it third row SUV? We're showcasing the 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe XRT in Santorini white over black interior. The XRT, you're getting more clearance than a Palisade, more torque than a Palisade, and the performance on the Santa Fe is on all trims, and you're only decreasing 500 pounds of towing going here opposed to the Palisade. I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides. I'm going to compare this against the competition. I'm going to throw in some pros and cons to see if this is a get it or skip it vehicle. Starting in the front, H design LED daytime runnings, making it more unique than anybody in its class. A light bar is going to go through the center of the top portion. You have an active air shutter. The lower gets front parking sensors, and you can see from the Santorini white, they highlight it with an H. Flat badging, that's gonna have the matte black because we're in the XRT. Now, when you go into the calligraphy, it's gonna have a lot more gloss black, but when you're going here, you're looking for off-roadsy. You get an 8.3 inches of clearance, which is class leading, standard at 7 inches in competing against Toyota, Honda. They're not going to have a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder turbocharged that's producing 277 horsepower with 311 pound-feet of torque. No, because this is actually going to be competing against kind of two segments. The RAV4, which this is going to outclass it because you got third row, and the Highlander, which ultimately will have more power in a turbocharged 4, but it's also a larger vehicle. This is going to max at 4,500 pounds of towing. That's at 5,000 pounds of towing. Going against Honda, you wouldn't really compete against the Pilot, but again, it's a third row. The CR-V doesn't have a third row, and it doesn't have the power capabilities as this either. And that's definitely a reason why I would get it. Your MPGs, 19 for the city and 26 MPGs for the highway. The fenders flare out with the matte black, the lower skirt as well. Now you can add an HPD package when you go to Honda. Toyota, you could do like a TRD, but it's not going to have what you're getting here as a total package. XRT gets 18-inch wheels wrapped with all-terrain tires. 165 pounds you can fit on top of these roof rails. Hyundai goes a step further because it has handles. You put your leg here to use as a step, and now you can easily put anything up on top of your roof rail. So they're literally making every capability a lot more easy. Yet again, more reasons for me to get it. Not a reason why I would skip it. It's paired to an 8-speed dual wet clutch automatic transmission. A lot of people are not liking this configuration. Me personally, I don't know why they would put this in an everyday vehicle, because typically when you use that type of transmission, it's in a sports car because you're trying to get quicker shifts to make it a lot more sporty in the drive. LED taillights, it's gonna have that H in the back as well. Flat badging in the matte black. They just do a good job cleaning up the whole vehicle. You got the boxy look. It looks like a miniature Defender, just a little bit lower. McPherson strut front suspension, a multi-link rear suspension. So yeah, you can get the job done here. The lower gets an exhaust exposed, front and rear parking sensors with the reverse camera. Now, one thing that would maybe discourage me, so I would skip it, is it is trim based. But if you go into the calligraphy opposed to this, it's about $6,000 different. It isn't really that much more difference, considering you'll get a digital rear view mirror, you'll have 360-degree reverse camera, and by the way, the limited trim will tick the box to 360-degree reverse camera. This is the sweet spot when you're looking to unlock the potential of the vehicle, meaning you're getting a lot more interior specs, towing capabilities, standard all-wheel drive. The limited is actually the trim to go to, which is a few grand more. Going into the calligraphy will unlock 20-inch wheels, and it'll be unique to the trim, as well as blind spot view monitoring, which is also on the limited trim. That means when you use your turn signals or your indicators, it will use the cameras that's on the side view mirror to project on the 12.3 digital gauge reader, so you can see the image there and you don't have to worry about blind spot. You also get a heads-up display going into the calligraphy. So each trim is tailored to be more luxurious, but going into the XRT or the Limited, I feel those are the two sweet spots because you're just a touch over 40 grand here, and going into the Limited, you're just a few grand more and you're unlocking almost every single feature as the calligraphy. As for competition, hands down, this is going to be more performance unless you're going into a variant that's going to be over 50 grand. What are you supposed to do with a power lift gate when you got all these bags? I don't want to sit them down on the floor, but you know what? The Santa Fe has you covered. Because look at this. It has a smart lift gate, which means when you just stand next to it with the doors locked, it's going to automatically open for you, going into 14.6 cubic feet behind the third row. Now, if you're thinking this is small, the Palisade is only maybe 4 cubic feet more than this. Home plug, You have a storage area here. Underneath the floor, get some more storage, and you can pull this up and it'll be more storage than just that. Split fold the rear bench at a 50-50 split by just simply pulling the levers. This is going to increase cargo to 40.5 cubic feet, which is about 5 cubic feet less than the Palisade. So yet again, it's not that bad when you're considering the size and what you're getting. The home plug is more accessible whenever you put the third row down, but you will have to go into the back in order to fold down the third row. And the bench will lay down flat. That's going to max cargo to 79.6 cubic feet, which is about 6 cubic feet less than the Palisade. So if it is something you're cross shopping, well, now you have an option that's a little bit smaller and a little bit more power with that turbocharged engine. The key fob to the Santa Fe. 10-way power seat adjustment for the driver, manual seat adjustment for the passenger. These are the H-Tech seats. Black is the only way you can get them when you go into the XRT. H-Tech seats start on the SEL with the heated seat function going up to this tier. Ventilated seats will be on the Limited. The calligraphy will add the one button where it basically reclines the driver's seat, as well as memory for the driver. The dashboard is going to be flat. UVC protectant will be in this glove box on the Limited trim, which will have a button right here. For the XRT, it's just going to give more storage because now you have two glove box with storage in between. This is your regular storage box, a full pass-through. The calligraphy will add a his and her or driver and passenger wireless charging pad that starts on the SEL for just a single wireless charging pad. This is going to be a little bit more firm for my liking, but it opens up into a medium-sized storage pocket. LED interior lights. You pull this up, and now it's a deep storage pocket, and ambient lighting will be on the Limited trim. Let's fire it up. Curved, one panel, two screen layout configuration. The XRT, why is this the sweet spot? Well, it starts off with navigation. You have two different screen layouts here. You can also close this. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, wireless, Sirius XM, AM, FM, streaming Bluetooth audio. Put it into reverse, and this is the trim that gets the 360-degree reverse camera. You can have it set like this. You can change different layouts for the camera. You can also do a 3D view to go all around. You still have physical buttons, so I like that. You don't have to do every single thing through this touch screen, but you do have to change a lot of the setup. So if you want to change the screen layout for the 4.2 display, it's only going to change out the configuration on the side. It's still digital, but it's only a 4.2, meaning right here, so you can go through an array of different content for the driver. The Limited unlocks a full 12.3, so it will be configurable. Leather wrap steering wheel, multi-function. Heated, goes into the Limited trim. The gear lever is on the steering column, which I don't mind it so much because it gives a lot more storage capacity here with two USB ports. Dual climate control settings, and this is a touchpad. Now I know the glossy black a lot of people are not so happy about, but I kind of like it because it just makes it more simplified and yet doesn't look like an airplane. It looks more high-tech. Driving modes, you have 4 different ones: normal, sport, my drive, and snow. Leg space, it's going to be more than enough. XRT gets a moonroof. The Limited will get the dual panel moonroof, meaning you'll start into the second row. Headroom. It will also add the auto dimming rear view mirror with a home link. Calligraphy will further that with a digital rear view mirror and a heads up display. Limited gets the 12 speakers through Bose. I like the H design for the air vents, and they carry on that throughout the interior of the cabin. It's going to be soft to touch, one touch up and down for the front windows with a medium-sized storage pocket. For the back seat, this is the opening that you have to fit 3 more, or you can use the armrests with the cup holders. You have USB-C ports behind the seats. The H design comes into play. You can kind of use this for clothing or anything that you want to put. You do have storage behind both of the front seats, and this is the best part. Look, more storage here. Manual sunshades start on the Limited trim. Soft to touch where it needs to be. 2 cup or beverage holders, more or less in the top, and 1 more in the bottom. And even in the grab handle, you can fit a larger smartphone. Sitting behind me, plenty of leg space. These slide up, so that way I can make it a little bit easier. And look, my knee space is still not that bad if I have to go to the full extent. Headroom is good. find the lever so I can recline this back, and now no one's gonna fit behind me. And you can slide this back to make sure no one fits behind me. I'm gonna fold this up, slide into the center. The floor is not completely flat. You could put your feet here, but if you do so, you're noticing your knees are gonna be sitting up in the air. So I would recommend just kind of sitting this way. The rails are pushed up enough so you can share some feet space. Butt, leg, and shoulder space isn't really compromised. And coming into headroom, it's really good. For the third row, push the button. It's gonna adjust. You'll still have to kind of slide it a bit. That's the opening that you have to fit in, which a little tight. To fit 2 more occupants, it's not that bad. This temperature control starts on the SEL. Home plug, cup holders, air vents on both sides, and USB-C ports will start on the limited trim. Leg space, when you slide this back, leg and knee space is going to be a little bit tight, but because it's only 2 people fitting in the back, I think they do a good job with the armrest and giving you optimal headroom for the third row. 311 pound-feet of torque. That's what it does. It literally will throw you back in your seat with 277 pound-feet of torque. Now, if you are cross-shopping between this and the Palisade, next year they're getting a refresh for the Palisade. Here, you're gonna have more torque. There, you're not getting a dual wet clutch automatic transmission. Here, you get less towing capabilities, but you have better ground clearance and you're gonna save some money. Now, when they did the refresh for the Santa Fe last year, it ultimately increased the price about $5 grand. But all the amenities that you get is quite crazy when you're competing against Toyota and Honda. Maneuverability, steering is light, turbocharged, it's always gonna push you back into your seat. Visibility is also good. It's gonna take me to some pros and cons, and you've already heard a ton of pros, so we're gonna just skip it to the cons of more or less why I would skip it. It doesn't have the UVC protectant. You gotta go into the limited trim. I'm not a huge fan of getting trim base when it comes to vehicles. I think that it should have features, and you don't really capture that going into Hyundai, Toyota, and Honda. Toyota, you do still have some capabilities and features, so I like that. I'm not a huge fan of this gear lever being on the steering column. I do like that it cleans up space. Not a huge fan of the glossy black for the touchpad. It's a lot more firm wherever you're resting your arms, and even the seat itself, I get it, this is the off-road variant, but the cushion even going into the limiter, the calligraphy is still not going to be as soft as a Honda. The cargo is a little bit small for my liking, but then again, this is a smaller third row SUV. Turn radius at a stop point, just a little peppy, about 2 lanes, let's rock and roll. Funny enough, there was a Volvo, it looks like an XC60. They thought that I was going to be going slow, and they turned in the other lane, and you see they still haven't passed me, because this is actually a pretty quick vehicle, which when you look at the segment that it's looking into, I like that Hyundai is doing this, because they're bringing the heat to Toyota and Honda, because realistically speaking, the CR-V should be a little bit longer so they can have a third row variant. The same thing with the RAV4. Maybe I just don't want to go into a Pilot or a Highlander. They're just a little bit too long. This fits right in between. I mean, I like the drive to it because this is something that you can have some fun with. You're not going to be late to work because people are not wanting to go the speed limit. You can maneuver in and out. It's not too large of an SUV, so you're not going to something like a Volkswagen Atlas. It's kind of like you're going into a Tiguan. Ultimately, there's only a few companies that get it. We don't all want a huge third row variant, and we do want capabilities, and that's why I would get it. But ultimately why I would skip it is because at the price you're at, you could look at the Palisade because they have increased the price quite a bit, but you're not really losing that many amenities going in to the Santa Fe. Another con is the digital reader. It's not fully reconfigurable. You have to go into the limited tier in order to unlock that, as well as the ventilated seats. Because we're already in the mid trim for the Santa Fe, I kind of feel some of these features should start coming in, or give us like a convenience package to add to it. Because when you go into the XRT, this is the only trim that you get the all-terrain tires and the extra ground clearance. Maybe give us the maybe give us the capability of getting the captain seat so we don't have to go to the calligraphy trim. And that's ultimately the problem that comes into play whenever you're doing trim base. You make it difficult to get what you want because maybe you want this off-roadsy look, but you want a little bit more in the interior. Therefore, you go into the limited, but then you're decreasing in clearance. You have to tick the box to the all-wheel drive, so you're going to spend a little bit more there, where this comes standard with all-wheel drive. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out the next video, membership, live stream, merchandise, website, TikTok, and Instagram. Leave a comment and a like. And I'd like to thank Hyundai of Lakewood